It's Week 12's power rankings, and we've done it like we have been over the past few weeks, where we put it out for your questions, and those questions help frame the discussion. But before we get to the questions, Chris, some significant moves, because a lot of the teams that were positioned in the top 10 lost. The Bills bump up 4 spots simply because everyone in front of them lost this week.
Right.
The Bills climb as high as anyone other than the Rams simply by not playing, because the Dolphins and the Cardinals and the Ravens and the Buccaneers all lost.
I mean, it's amazing. I remember last week just going through social media when you let up your power rankings, and there was a few, gentlemen who made comments like, there is no upper class this year, or there's no legit, upper class, where it just seems like, the Steelers and Chiefs have kind of been in their own little category, and we've had the Bucs flirt and the Seattle Seahawks flirt with it, and, they're still there on the edge. And, of course, the New Orleans Saints, who have now seemed to have joined that group, at least in my opinion, with the amount of games they've won in a row, the way it looks, the way their defense is playing. But, yeah, it does seem, that I don't even know, upper middle class is very interchangeable this year. And it is a small group of real dominant teams, if there is even really a dominant team this year.
In hindsight, maybe I should have made the Rams 4 and the Bills 5.
I would have.
The last time we saw the Bills, they lost.
Right.
But the Rams only won by 3 points. If it had been a more dominating win, if that fumble by Tom Brady had been called a fumble, as it should have been, and the Rams had gone up by 14 and had won by 10 or 14 points, maybe they would have been at number 4. Maybe I should have put them at number 4. But
I agree with you. That was
right.
Probably the first thing I jumped. I mean, you're probably going back to like, hey, the Bills did beat the Rams head-to-head,
Yes.
But at the same
Thank
time, the Rams have played good football lately. And you're right. The last time we saw the Bills, they lost. That same weekend, the Rams, convincingly beat the Seattle Seahawks and Russell Wilson, then go on the road and beat Tampa, who we thought, got back on the right track after their loss to the Saints. So, yeah, I probably would have put the Rams ahead of the Bills, but it's not like egregious or crazy by any stretch of the imagination.
Steelers are number 1 for the 5th week in a row, unbeaten at 10-0, the 18th team in the Super Bowl era to pull that off. Shield 1991 asks, what does Pittsburgh have to do to get the respect that a 10-0 team deserves? Chris, what do they have to do?
Well, I think you've hit on it a lot. First off, how about not need luck to beat the Dallas Cowboys? Okay, I mean, it's games like that. Pittsburgh, I know they have not gotten the respect they quite deserve. There's no doubt for a 10-0 football team. But you mentioned it and laid it out yesterday. It's not nearly as dominant as we've seen other teams go 10-0 in the past. There was it's hey, Lamar Jackson had the ball on the 4-yard line on a 4th and 1, a chance to win the game. The Tennessee Titans, that game, the way it looked, of course. And then, the Cowboys, some of the underwhelming Houston and Denver games early in the year. So I think all of that, let the Philadelphia Eagles have a chance to win the game and tie it at the very end and do those things. I think that's why it's not as like, hey, we got a team that might be able to go 10-0. Hey, they're getting it done. We like it. It's awesome. I hear you. Most people are getting on me because they're like, wait, last year the Steelers went 8-8 with backup quarterbacks. Big Ben should be a top 10 quarterback because they're undefeated now. Listen, if they just had capable backups last year, they're going to go to the Super Bowl. I mean, the playoffs. They didn't. Those weren't backups last year. That's what I want to tell Pittsburgh. That's where it's like Big Ben's awesome, but last year you had 3rd and 4th and 5th stringers playing quarterback. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say it. So yeah. It looks a lot better this year, certainly with Big Ben, but they didn't need a whole lot on the offensive side of the ball to get them over the hump there. But I think that's the reason, Mike. I think you've been all over it all along.
And I think one thing the Steelers have to do is beat the Chiefs. It's not their fault the Chiefs aren't on the schedule during the regular season, but that is going to continue to linger until the Steelers beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. Even if they win every game between now and then, the Steelers won't be regarded as the best team in football. And won't it be strange if the Steelers are 16-0, actually 17-0, meeting the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game?
And an underdog?
Underdogs.
They could be.
And underdogs at home.
Yeah.
2-point underdogs at home to the Chiefs. That's what it's going to be. maybe 2.5.
It could be. Now, we know the Steelers, their schedule is a little easier. I don't know if it's easier or not. Kansas City still has the Bucks and the Saints and the Miami Dolphins on their schedule. That'll be work. There's no doubt about that. Pittsburgh, we know it's Baltimore this week, Buffalo in a few weeks, the Colts after that. Those are the teams you look at to go, can they upset their party a little bit? I'm not putting the Ravens out of contention tomorrow night. I don't care. They're desperate. We see the Bills. They're up there in your power rankings, and the Colts are damn good too. So I would bet that they don't go undefeated. We see them slip off somewhere here, but it's still, nonetheless, I'm not trying to disrespect the Steelers. I'm very impressed, and, man, I root for them. I've been a Big Ben defender, and I've always defended Mike Tomlin. So there's really a part of me that likes the Steelers and roots for him.
The 1972 Dolphins, the only undefeated team in the Super Bowl era, 17-0. They were actually slight underdogs in Super Bowl VII. And when you go back and look
were
week
they
by
really?
week, to Washington, they were slight underdogs. They won 14-7. Should have been a shutout, but for Garo Yepremian. But one of the all-time great NFL highlights. It was worth it. They still won, and they got one of the all-time great highlights as Yepremian tries to throw a pass and throws the ball up in the air. Ken Bass grabs it, scores a touchdown, only points of the day for Washington. But if you go back and look at their season week by week, the Dolphins had plenty of close games. They had some blowouts too, but they had plenty of close games. It tracks what the Steelers are doing a lot more than the 2007 Patriots, who just blew out everyone, especially early on, until we got to those last few games, and every team was giving them their best shot. And that's what the Steelers are going to be facing, Chris. PointsBet has the Steelers at plus 500 to go undefeated. I would not take that bet, because when it's the Bills coming up in a couple of weeks on a Sunday night, which is going to be an awesome game, when it's the Colts on December 27 in Pittsburgh, those two games, the teams are going to be bringing everything they have to beat the Steelers. And I just can't imagine them checking off each of the next 6 boxes, which probably means they will, but it's not like they have a cakewalk the rest of the way.
No, definitely not. And we've seen them, like we've already talked about, struggle with some teams that were clearly less than. Now, I don't know, maybe the last 2 weeks, the way they handled the Bengals, the way they handled Jacksonville starts to formulate into something like where, hey, I think we found our way on the offensive side. And, the defense, of course, still playing at a high level to maybe where they start to dominate teams here more. It's very impressive. I understand their fans being or having the feeling of being disrespected. But I think you hit it right where, again, not even all the 10-0 teams, or whether it was all the Peyton Manning teams that we saw 8-9-0, and the Tom Brady teams and all of that, back to my dad's era, his 90 team, and Joe Montana and the 49ers and those 90 teams. I just usually when you see 10-0, there's 6 or 7 games where you go, they dominated that game through and through. Yeah, they won by 14 or only won by 10, but it was domination. And then we just haven't seen that all the way with Pittsburgh. We've had moments of going, man, what the hell? Why are they letting this team hang around? Whoa, they might lose this to this team? Oh, they made a play to win it. Wow, oh, okay, awesome. So that's where I think it's a little different than most years.
And that plays into their hands, too. You don't get big-headed, and you continue to have a chip on your shoulder because you feel like people aren't respecting what you've accomplished, so you just keep accomplishing it more and more. Chiefs are still at number 2. King Boss 261 wants to know how the defense can improve. And, Chris, against the Raiders, 71 points surrendered in 2 games. Surely there's room for improvement on that side of the ball.
Well, there definitely is. Now, I mean, that's a team, one that matches up really well with the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that's the big thing. But their secondary has gotten healthy. That I look at that. Chris Jones, he's been in and out of the lineup here and there. They're not going to be a dominant defense. You can't have it all. It's impossible this day and age in the NFL with the salary cap and all of that. But they have a coach who's creative. He does the best with the talent he's got available there. I like his formula. It's feast or famine. And they have playmakers. And that's really, listen, we've seen when they need to be tough and play a certain way, they can do it. So I'm not worried about them. We're talking about, I don't care what the stats say, the best offense in football with Mahomes and Reed and those weapons. You give me an offense, I'm taking them. And then, okay, all we need is respectability out of the defense. and they have more than respectability. Again, they slowed down that 49ers run game last year in the Super Bowl. They slowed down Derrick Henry in the AFC Championship game. So they're game plan specific. There's been a few games where they're asleep at the wheel, things like that, but they got players. They're coached well, and I'm not concerned about their unit overall. I'm really not.
3 teams from the NFC West are in the top 11 this week. The Rams are the highest at number 5. Seahawks creeping up at number 8 after beating the Cardinals, who have fallen to number 11. PointsBet has the odds for the NFC West with the Rams and Seahawks both plus 110, Arizona plus 380, San Francisco the long shot at plus 8,000. Hunald Blake wants to know who's the best team in the NFC West, Chris. Who would you pick right now out of those 3?
I guess at this second, I'd probably give the Rams the slight edge. They having beat Seattle 2 weeks ago and then playing that game last week. I would give them the slight edge. I will say this. If Seattle can continue to kind of play defense the way they did last week against Kyler Murray, which was, to me, it was tactically aggressive instead of stupidly aggressive like we had seen, where it was just, the weeks before, it was blitz, 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 blitz. Oh, man, they're throwing it by us. Oh, my gosh, the guy broke the first line of the line of scrimmage, and he's gone. There was all these issues. Last week, they played a little bit of like, hey, we're going to blitz, and they dropped out, and they did a great job of containing Kyler Murray and were more creative and had more diversity in their coverages, and then just blitzed when they felt like, hey, this is a situation we got a feel for what they're going to do and all that. I liked what I saw out of Seattle, and then we saw the run game really helps them. So I don't know. How do you feel? I'm giving the Rams a slight edge, but I don't feel real comfortable about that.
I want to see the Rams and Seahawks play
one more
again.
time.
I want to see one more before I decide who the best team is. And we're going to see the Rams and the Cardinals play twice, not once, over the remainder of the season.
Yeah.
KevDog93 makes a point. Seahawks have a more favorable next 3 games than the Rams before they play again. Does that give Seattle the edge in terms of winning the division? The Seahawks have the Eagles, Giants, Jets, and Washington. The Rams have the 49ers, Cardinals, Patriots, and Jets.
That's scary.
It is an easier 4-game stretch for the Seahawks, who can get rolling again.
Definitely. It really is. I mean, really, you look at any of those games there and you just go, no, none of those teams should beat the Seattle Seahawks. They should not. Might make it tough, cool, all those things. But the Rams, hey, there's great familiarity with the Rams having to play the 49ers this week, who are coming off a bye week. And Kyle Shanahan ain't asleep at the wheel, and Robert Saleh, and they know how to defend the Rams and attack their defense. So that's scary this week right off the bat, let alone Arizona and New England the weeks after that. So and then Seattle and Arizona to end the year for the Rams. So they do. I mean, you look at their schedule and you go, wow. 4 of their last 5 games are legit, and they're going to have to play good football to at least, come out in a favorable way there through that stretch.
And then there is the NFC East.
Oh, my God.
With the highest-rated team. Thank you. There'll be some of that going on tomorrow after multiple plates of turkey. At number 23 is the Giants, 24 Washington, 26 the Eagles, and 28, bringing up the rear, the team that I think may actually pull its way into the front of the line. It's not a far trip to get there. The Cowboys at 28. PointsBet currently has it this way. Eagles plus 175, Cowboys plus 225, and Washington and the Giants tied at plus 350.
Wow.
Who do you think the favorite is right now?
I have a hard time going with Philadelphia. I just think there's more, the play on the field's not good. Just the aura and feel around the team, the stress of the city with the way that I just have a hard time thinking Philly's going to be able to figure this out. I don't know, why, because you've said it, and it's true. The last few years when they're in these positions, they seem to fight themselves, out of it. But the Cowboys, I think, have the most potential for, they have some difference makers on both sides of the ball. Washington's interesting because of their defense and now the Alex Smith angle of it, because he's taking care of the football. They got a pretty good O-line. Antonio Gibson can really run, and Terry McLaurin's a superstar. We don't talk about him, but he's a superstar that, just on a bad team that gets to get lost in the shuffle. So, and then the Giants have played good football. I think I favor Washington more than anybody right now. I do. I just think with the quarterback, their run game, and the defense, I think they might come out on top in this whole thing when all's said and done.
I'm not going to pick one team, but I'm going to make a prediction.
Yeah.
Whoever wins tomorrow wins the division.
You're going to go with that.
Cowboys-Washington game.
Yeah,
Whoever
I can see
wins that game, they're going to come out of that. It's a big spot. 30 million people are going to watch it, or at least 30 million TVs are going to be on. Whether you're watching it or not is a different issue. But it's got that shine. It's got that feel. It's got that glow. And I think that team is going to become the favorite to win and likely will win the division. They're going to carry something out of that into the final 5 weeks. So that's just my wild-ass guess, because with this division, who knows?
Giants have
Chargers
such a – oh, sorry. I was going to say, Giants have such a tough schedule, even though they're playing football. That's why I just couldn't go there. Now, Washington's schedule is not very easy either. That's where this is not good football teams with tough schedules down the stretch. That's where it's hard to really, peg, who's going to win or do what or whatever else. And I don't know. I can't believe the NFC East. What a horrible division this year.
I still want to see how the Giants are after this Mark Colombo, Joe Judge ugliness from last week. Will it create an issue in the locker room? Is Joe Judge looking kind of funny at Jason Garrett, who brought Colombo with him to New York? Are there issues, or is it all resolved? Time will tell. All right, the Chargers at number 29. They were at number 29 last week. They got no bump for beating the Jets.
How dare you?
Maximus overdrive. I get that the Chargers are now the poster child of losing close games, but does that mean they're worthy of the number 29 spot? Is Anthony Lynn really the problem? I mean, you look around. I mean, where else would you put the Chargers? We can pull it up, Chris. You tell me where else you would put the Chargers, the number 29, based on the teams that are in front of them.
Yeah,
we have it.
No, yeah, I got it. I'm here. I'm with you. I don't know. You're right. It's hard to say. The Cowboys, okay, maybe, but you're right. I'm going to take the Lions over them slightly, the Eagles, the Texans, all of them. You're right. I mean, I have no problem with that. The Chargers, it's not great on defense. Special teams is some of the poorest in football, and they find ways to mismanage games as a coaching staff too. Last week was one of their best jobs. You've heard me say it. I've been yelling about it on the podcast the last few weeks. Stop the bull crap. We're going to play through the run. The best thing you got going on your team is the number 6 pick in the draft, who's a superstar and already one of the 10 best quarterbacks in football. And you got Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and Hunter Henry. Last week, they finally played through the pass game. It was passed first. Oh, wait, they're crap scared of our pass. Now we can run the ball just a little bit or whatever. But that to me, with that quarterback, I'm excited about the Chargers and their future. What I just question is, I hope Anthony Lynn can hang on and save his job through this and bear the fruits of what Justin Herbert can deliver into the future.
And by the way, I dropped the Bengals down to number 11 because of the injury to Joe Burrow, because without him, they have nothing. And also, I'm a little salty about the fact that the Bengals continue to put him in harm's way and didn't do enough to protect this guy who is the future of the franchise. The future is now murky because of the serious knee injury. Brandon Allen will start at quarterback reportedly for the Bengals this weekend, not Ryan Finley, who was the game day replacement for Burrow. And the Bengals also will bring in Kevin Hogan and Alex whatever, I don't know. He won't make the team, so we don't need to learn how to pronounce his name. Sorry, Alex's parents. But who are these guys? Why don't they if they're going to bring in this Alex McWhatever, where's Matt Sims in all this?
Oh, yeah, that's over. Sorry, that ship has sailed, certainly. But, it's a little concerning with Finley not being named the starter or playing. He was a mid-round draft pick 2 years ago, a guy that I thought had really a chance to be successful. I'm certainly was wrong with my quarterback evaluation on him, to where he got a chance last year and it was not good. And of course, he took over the game the other day and it was not good. So, when you're that kind of guy, mid-round draft pick, you've had 2 opportunities, things don't go well, man. That you could find your way out of the league in a hurry in that kind of scenario.
I have been called many things, many of which I've deserved to be called. One thing I am is a realist, and even though it would make a ton of sense to see what Colin Kaepernick could do. There's no way they're going to call him. It's over. It's done. That chapter is closed. But when they're bringing in guys for tryouts whose name I can't pronounce because he hasn't been on my radar screen since he was a 7th-round pick of the Seahawks in 2017 and never did anything anywhere and is being pulled off the scrap heap for a tryout, it's hard not to think that a guy who at one point by Ron Jaworski was dubbed potentially the best of all time in 2013. How does that? I know how, and I know why.
Yeah, I know.
It's just this is the latest brick in that wall of what the hell is going on here, and we know what's going on.
Yeah, we know what's going on. It's over. I feel sad to say it. I mean, it really is. We know he got screwed over. There's no other way to say that too. But yeah, the teams don't want to deal with it. It's been too long, and I think that ship has sailed.
All right, one more real quickly before we break. Defense On wants to know which team has moved the most this season. I need to pay this one off because somebody actually, and I assume it was Pete, went back and looked to see what the progression was.
Oh, well, you know, Pete, he can't even count, so we're going to trust him.
Well, that's true. That's true. I'm waiting for one of these mistakes to go in my favor. But anyway, the Buccaneers have gone from 6 to 10 to 7 to 15, all the way up to 4, currently at number 13. Cardinals have bounced around from 20 as high as 6. Browns have been as low as 32. I was mad about how dysfunctional the Browns were in week 1. Yeah, but they've been as high as number 11. And the Vikings have been, love me not, 12 down to 30, currently at number 18. But thanks, Pete, for doing something I never would have done, which is looking at more than 1 week of the power rankings and trying to figure out where they all fit. But, you know, for the most part, we know who the best teams are. There isn't a huge nucleus of them, but we know who they are. After that, who the heck knows? And it changes a lot in any given week, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. You know, and I sit here because I like to play this type of game at the end of the year. You know, we get to this point of the year, you start to go, like, you know, out of those teams that you got maybe in your top 14, 15, I mean, how many of them do we think can actually go to the Super Bowl and win it? Like, right, you got the Bills at number 4. I understand that. I'm not trying to push back against that. But I get interested in, like, do I really think the Bills could go to a Super Bowl? Can they win a game or two in the playoffs? I think so. But I don't know if I look at them as Super Bowl caliber, where I think teams like the Rams behind them have a little bit more of a Super Bowl caliber type team than the Bills do. You know, so I think that's always an interesting exercise as I look at it here because, yeah, the Dolphins and Cardinals, those are two teams I look at and go, yeah, I get where they're ranked. I understand that. I don't think they're legit Super Bowl contenders in a year like this. Like, just look at it quickly, Mike. Like, how many you think are there? Your top 3, sure. You know, do you put the Colts in that category? Would you do that? Would you put them in the Super Bowl or playoff category?
I think the Colts, they on any given Sunday, they could beat anyone if they have things fall their way. So, yes.
Yeah, okay.
I would.
With that defense, they're getting a lot offensive line. I get it. You know, I think we both look at the Packers as Seahawks as Super Bowl worthy, the Titans as Super Bowl worthy. Yeah, the Dolphins and Cardinals, I don't feel that way. The Ravens.
I don't think the Packers are.
You don't think they are either?
I think the Packers are going to step into a buzzsaw before they get to the Super Bowl, just like last year.
I could see that. I could see the only way the Packers to me are a team that the matchups have to fall right. That's how I kind of look at it in some ways, to where maybe if they got a wild card game, they can win. You know, whoever that is. You know, they play Seattle or Tampa or Arizona. Rodgers can be able to throw the ball in those groups, and you know who knows what happens. But yeah, they need an unfavorable matchup, I think, in the next rounds. And you're right. I don't know if that happens there. I'm not going to count them out. I'm going to keep them in the Super Bowl contender list, but I don't feel real strong about it like you.
Yeah, I think. Well, I look. We love compelling storylines. We love upsets. I want Steelers-Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. And as of right now, I would sign on for Saints-Rams rematch of the non-call of pass interference in the NFC Championship in New Orleans. Let's bring them all back. Let's do it again. Saints fans wanted a do-over. They may get a do-over under pretty different circumstances, but with a lot of the same people involved.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.